obviously we are sticking in the same section yet again. This is section 2.4, continued again. And really what we're focusing on is the fundamental theorem of algebra. All right. So really the fundamental theorem of algebra is just finding all real and imaginary zeros. So we're finding all of them today. In the process of finding all of them, remember whatever our highest exponent is the number of zeros you have to find, right? So if our polynomial is x to the fifth, we better find 5 zeros. If our polynomial is x to the third, we have to find a total of 3 zeros. That all sounds familiar too, right? No. Thank you. All right. So first thing we have to do is start by 1, find all possible. And we find all possible zeros by doing the rational root theorem. 2, out of all possible, we have to find out of the possible, find your largest exponent minus 2 zeros. So again, what I mean is if our polynomial is x to the fifth, subtracting 2, we have to find 3 zeros before we can start, right? You guys recall that too? Say yes. All right. 3, then we get to use synthetic division. Using, and again, if you want to use long, you can, but that might take a lot of paper and a lot of work. Using synthetic division. Well, you know. Oh, well. So, I don't know how to spell. Spell check. There we go. Works for me. All right. Anyway, using synthetic division, you divide the polynomial down to a quadratic. And then, step 4, solve the quadratic. All right, here is example number 1. Let's start off with an easier one, I hope. Let's start off with f of x equals 4x to the third minus 6x squared minus 8x plus 12. And I want you to find all zeros. So the first thing we have to do is find all the possible zeros. So we take all the factors of 12, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12, and divide it by all the factors of 4, which are 1, 2, and 4. It's a lot of possible. Out of all of those possible we find, how many do we have to find to get started? We're finding a total of 3. I only need to find 1 to get started, right? Because I take this highest exponent right here, I subtract 2, and that means I have to find 1 to start. To start synthetic division. Okay? So, out of all of our possible, now last year I'm also going to let you do it this year. I'm going to let you grab your graphing calculator and find 1 0 to start with. Yep, go into y equals. Go into y equals, type that equation in. Find me one spot where it crosses the x-axis. (1.5). (-1.4). We don't want to be, we need an exact one. 1.5? That's fine. I just need, okay, let me backtrack. I think I've lost you. Remember, out of all these possible, we have plus and minus 1, plus and minus 2, plus and minus 3, plus and minus 4, plus and minus 6, plus and minus 12. No, I'm trying to remind you. That's why I didn't write them out, I was trying to help you out. Okay? All right, so on here, then of course you have to do it over 2. So we have plus and minus 1/2, plus and minus 3/2, plus and minus 4/2 is 2, 6/2 is 3, 12/2 is 6. Then we got to go over 4. So we have plus and minus 1/4. Plus and minus 2/4 is the same as 1/2. We have plus and minus 3/4. Then we have 4/4, which is 1. 6/4 is 3/2, and 12/4 is 3. So we have all these possibilities. Okay. Let me graph it really quick so I catch up with all you guys. All right, so when you graph it, right, it looks like this. It comes up, it comes down. Dang it. It looks like it crosses and comes back up. Okay. All right, hold on. Just 1 second. So I'm going to walk around with my graph. So I zoomed in to get a closer picture. So mine looks like this. You can see it goes through, comes back up, right? This is what mine looks like. I zoomed in some more. Okay. Anybody need me to zoom back out so you can kind of see the whole thing? It's just doing exactly what's up there, right? Okay. Now we need 1 0 out of that. I have zoomed in. Yeah, so if you zoom in on here, I'm going to say it crosses underneath. You know what I mean? If you zoom in further, you're going to see it does go actually through and then back up. Okay, so out of our possible is -1.4 one of those. No, so we can't use that. I need out of our possible. See, with that I'm going to make you plug all of those in until we get a 0. Thank you. If you look at the graph, it does cross at 1.5. So that's what we're going to use. It's 3/2 right here. The 1, 0 we found, positive 3/2. So we know 1, 0 is at 3/2. So now the next step, we use synthetic division. We're going to do synthetic right here. We have to put our coefficients for -6, -8, and 12. Out here, I am doing 3/2 as my 0. Well, if you want to use a decimal of 1.5, you may do so. Okay? We're going to bring down 4. 3/2 times 4 is 6. Add those together, I get 0. 3/2 times 0 is 0. Add those together, I get -8. Huh? Oh, yeah. 3/2 times -8 is -12 with no remainder. So what I have left here is 4x squared minus 8. My next step is to solve this quadratic. So I'm going to set this equal to 0. How would we like to go about solving for my last two solutions? Would you like to factor? Would you like to just get x by itself? What do you want to do? All right, so first thing I'm going to do is add 8 to the other side. I have 4x squared equals 8. Dividing both sides by 4, I get x squared equals 2. Then what do? Square root both sides. I get x equals plus and minus the square root of 2. So my 3 zeros are at 3/2, square root 2, and negative square root 2. You remember doing this now? What? Yeah, these, okay. Do me a favor. In your calculator, plug in negative square root 2. Tell me what value that is, Brady. 1.41, where it crosses on the graph, right? But this is the exact answer that we're looking for. That's why we can't use the decimal ones from the graph. We have to find the exact zeros. These are just, they're irrational. They're still zeros, they're still answers, but they're irrational. Okay? Because this started as an x to the third.
So if we would have had to find 2, then we would have just did another division.
Another one of these, yes, we would have done it again.
And then solve them.
Are we good?
Yep.
All right. Let's keep going. Let's do another example. I need to get a good problem. Hold on. All right, here is example number 2. Find all solutions. And let's go with f of x equals x to the 4th minus 4x to the 3rd plus x squared plus 12x minus 12. All right, so first thing we do is find all possible. So that's all the factors of 12 over all the factors of 1. So that's plus and minus 1, plus and minus 2, plus and minus 3, plus and minus 4, plus and minus 6, and plus and minus 12. Those are all the possible. Then out of all of those possible, how many do I have to find? 2. We need to find 2. Out of all of these possible, we need 2. Okay, we take this highest exponent right here, subtract 2, and this tells me I have to find 2 zeros before I can start. So then technically you take all of these numbers, plug them into the equation, and find out which one becomes 0. I let you guys shortcut it by graphing it and looking for where it crosses the x-axis. Okay? So if you look at this one when you graph it, it gets 2, but what does 2 do? Yeah, so it bounces off, right, at 2? Right? So what does that mean about the answer 2? Yes, it's got a multiplicity of 2. So I actually have 2 2's at this spot. Okay? Now we got to divide. Our coefficients across the top are 1, -4, 1, 12, -12. We're going to start with our first 0 of 2. Bring down our 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Add them together, we get -2. 2 times -2 is -4. Add them together, we get -3. 2 times -3 is -6. Add them together, we get 6. 2 times 6 is 12, and there should be no remainder. If you get a remainder, something's wrong, because it's a 0. Now we have a multiplicity of 2 of them here, so we're going to divide by 2 again. Bring down my 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Add them together, I get 0. 2 times 0 is 0. Add them together, I get -3. 2 times -3 is -6, and again, I have no remainder. So I have left, it started as x to the 4th, this is x to the 3rd, and this is x squared. So I have 1x squared minus 3 is the quadratic I'm down to. Now we set that equal to 0 and solve. And again, we can solve this by getting x by itself, right? So x squared equals 3. Square root both sides. We get x equals plus and minus square root 3. So our zeros are at 2, another one at 2, and plus and minus square root 3. Is this coming back to us? We did this for weeks last year. Weeks, plural, many, many, many. Let's do another one. Example number 3. All right. Let's do y equals x to the 4th plus 3x squared plus x squared minus 12x minus 20. There we go. All right. So on this one, all the factors of 20 over all the factors of 1. So we get plus and minus 1, plus and minus 2, plus and minus 4, plus and minus 5, plus and minus 10, and plus and minus 20. Did I lose any? Yes. That's supposed to be to the 3rd. Thank you. All right. So are we good with finding all the possible? Now, out of all of those possible, how many do I have to find? How many have to be zeros? 2 of them, right? Because again, we look at that highest exponent. 4 minus 2 equals 2. I have to find 2 to get started. So when you graph it, you should get 2 of them. You can find 2 of them. That's what I have too. It's -2 and +2. Right? All right. So here we go with our synthetic. So we can find our other 2 zeros. Right? Across the top, I have 1, 3, 1, -12, -20. On the outside, let's start with 2. So we're going to bring down 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Add them together. 2 times 5 is 10. Add them together. 2 times 11 is 22. Add them together. 2 times 10 is 20 with no remainder. Now we're going to do it again. This time we're using -2. We bring down the 1. -2 times 1 is -2. Add them together. -2 times 3 is -6. Add them together. -2 times 5 is -10, and again, no remainder. All right, so the quadratic we have left is x squared plus 3x plus 5, and we're going to set that equal to 0. So now let's talk about how to solve this one. This isn't an easy one to solve, right? Quadratic formula, exactly. Right, it doesn't factor. So we have -b plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So underneath here I have 9 minus 20. So what do I actually have underneath there? Good. I have -3 plus and minus the square root of -11 over 2. All right, how am I going to write that? What do I do with the negative? Correct. So 2 of our zeros are at -3 plus and minus I square root 11 over 2. And our other 2 zeros were at plus and minus 2. So we have a total of 4. All right, so here's what I'd like to do. I'm actually thinking, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do one of your homework together. We'll do the very last one, if you guys are okay with that. Okay? Here we go with number 56. Number 56 starts off as f of x equals 3x to the 4th minus 2x to the 3rd plus 3x squared plus x minus 2. All right, so first, all of our factors. We have all the factors of 2, which are 1 and 2, over all the factors of 3, which are 1 and 3. So our possible are plus and minus 1, that's 1 over 1, plus and minus 1/3. We can go 1 over 3. Then we have plus and minus 2, and plus and minus 2/3. So out of those 8, how many do I have to find? Got to find 2, because our highest exponent is 4, right? So go ahead and graph this. What did you guys find for me? Two-thirds. Tell me about 2/3. Does it bounce off or just makes a U? Okay. Well, I didn't graph it. I was letting you guys do that for me. You got it? Mm-hmm. Positive and negative 2/3. Okay. Okay. So let's try that. Start with our 2/3. Is it at negative 2/3 also, you said, Jesse? All right, so here we go. Whoops. Synthetic division. We have 3, -2, 3, 1, and -2. Starting on the outside, we're going to do 2/3. So I'm going to bring down my 3. 2/3 times 3 is 2. Add them together, we get 0. 2/3 times 0 is 2/3. No, it's 0. Ha, way to go, me. 2/3 times 0 is 0. Add those together, I get 3. 2/3 times 3 is 2. Add those together, I get 3. 2/3 times 3 is 2, and no remainder. All right, what are we doing next? Yes, let's do -2/3. You don't think it's -2/3?
It works all the way until the very last one. It's just -2/3. 3 minus -2.
Okay, hold on. 2, 2, 2. All right, this is one of them that was in your homework, so just give me a second. Yeah, I got -0.682, so it's not quite 2/3. It didn't work. All right, wow.
Like that's what the 0 said was 2/3.
That's what the 0 said, but it doesn't work out, does it? Let's. Yeah. So if I were to, what we're saying is if I were to bring this down, -2/3 times 3 is -2. Adding those together, I get -2. Then we get 4/3. If I add those together, and then if I multiply, we're going to end up with a remainder, is what everybody's saying. So, I took this problem right out of your homework. Way to go, me, huh?
Like 2/3 was a 0. That's what it said.
Right. 2/3 worked. Yeah. And the book just says that there's a rational one at 2/3 and everything else is irrational. All right. So, sorry this problem didn't work, so you don't have to do 56, obviously. So, does that mean you guys want to do 55 together? Yes. Let's do that. Number 55. Why 56 doesn't work, I don't know.
Why?
All right. So let me fix this first one. This is supposed to be x to the 4th right here. All right. So again, the first thing we have to do is find all of our factors of 4, which are 1, 2, and 4, over all the factors of 2, which are 1 and 2. Then we list all our possible, which is plus and minus 1, plus and minus 1/2, plus and minus 2. Plus and minus 2 over 2 is the same as 1. Plus and minus 4, and plus and minus 4 over 2 is the same as 2. So we have 8 possibilities. Out of those 8, how many do we have to find? We have to find 2. I agree. Those 2 are -1/2 and 4. I agree. All right, so let's go ahead and do our synthetic division. Which one do you guys want to start with, the 4 or the -1/2? 4. Okay, so we have 2, negative 7, negative 2, negative 7, negative 4. And out here we're going to start with positive 4. Bring down our 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Add them together, we get 1. 4 times 1 is 4. Add them together, we get 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Add them together, we get 1. 4 times 1 is 4, and there's no remainder. Then we're going to go ahead and do negative 1/2 is the next one. Bring down our 2. Negative 1/2 times 2, negative 1. Add them together, we get 0. Negative 1/2 times 0 is 0. Add them together, we get 2. Negative 1/2 times 2 is negative 1, and there's no remainder. So we have 2x squared plus 2 as our quadratic. How do you guys want to solve for our final 2? Set it equal to 0, okay? So we subtract 2 to the other side. We have 2x squared equals negative 2. Divide both sides by 2. We get x squared equals negative 1. So what does x equal? What is the square root of 1? 1. So we get x equals plus and minus I. Yep. If you have the square root of negative 1, that's just I, right? Okay, and what were our other 2 zeros? We've got to list them here also. And 4. All right, so now you only have 6 problems left to do. Okay?